I want to talk to you about taking care of your Newfie Poo ears or Doodle ears if you have a Doodle. So, poodles grow hair inside their ears, and this is usually a lot different than their purebred, flat coated parents. So, like the Newfoundland or a Golden Retriever, their ears don't have this constant hair growth inside of their ears. So, taking care of their ears appropriately and knowing what to expect is a really important part of understanding what you're getting into when you bring home a Newfie Poo puppy. So, what I like to do is I like to keep the underside of the ear. So, when you lift up the ear, that side shaved completely clean. So, I have like hair clippers, pet clippers, and I shave that real short. I like to keep the hair on the top of the ear about an inch long and no longer than that. Sometimes I go shorter. If they're getting over an ear infection, definitely go shorter, because what this does is it makes the ear very light. So when they're walking, running, and playing, air is getting to those ears and helping to keep it dry. Yeast can build up in their ears, and that's what creates smell and ear infections. When you give them baths, it's really important not to get excess water in there as much as you can. So what I like to do is hold the ear down. I usually like put my fingers under their chin and hold their ears as my other hand is spraying down their head. And this helps keep the water droplets out of there. And then I use a washcloth to clean the underside of their ear and inside. Make sure it's wrung out and everything. It's really helpful to take a colloidal silver spray bottle and just give each ear a spritz or two on a regular basis, whether you do that once a week, just after baths. It really depends on what you want to do and how troublesome your puppy's ears are. As far as that hair growth, that's where there's a lot of differing opinions, and I'm going to tell you what I do and why, and then you'll have to research and come up with your own plan with your groomer. Most groomers like to pluck, and that's very common in the grooming world. And a lot of dogs don't have a problem with that. For some reason, Doodles do. That can actually cause ear infections. Sometimes they're so bad that they have to be plucked, and there's no getting around it. I like to use my clippers. If you get tiny ones, you can clip really close in there. And if you're upkeeping cleaning their ears, you shouldn't have wax build up too much. But if you're clipping under and inside that hole once every few months, that should really keep it contained and not a problem. So when it does become a problem, the hair actually creates like a ball with wax, and it becomes hard and stuck in there. So you'll need to get forceps, and they look like scissors or like big tweezers, and they lock. And so what you'll do is you'll go in there and you'll pick the ball, right? And you will just pull very, very slightly, enough to pull the ball away from the side of the hair or the ear. You'll then take blunt nosed scissors and just snip, snip, snip until that ball becomes loose. The closer to the outside of the ear canal, the more sensitive it is. Once it's down in, it's not so sensitive, so where you can't reach, if you just pull like different edges with those forceps and kind of work it away, it will eventually pull out. And that is how plucking should be done, so that your puppy has the least chance of an ear infection. Because what happens with plucking is it irritates the ear canal and your dog starts shaking their head. I once had a dog that shook her head for 3 months before she stopped. I had another boy, we had rehabilitated him. He wasn't one of my dogs, and he was so not kept up, and so he had to have his ears plucked. He shook his head so hard that he got hematomas around the outside of his ears, and every time he would shake his head, blood would fly because he just had these blood-filled pockets at the end of his ears. That's a worst case scenario, but it can happen with excessive head shaking. So we had to buy a head wrap for him and keep his ears down until those fully healed. So that's like worst case as to what can happen with severe plucking. The colloidal silver is amazing. It's just, and you're like, well, you just told me to keep water out of his ears. Colloidal silver is a natural antibiotic, so it's not going to impede the good bacterial growth. It'll take care of the bad bacterial growth, and it won't cause ear infections, especially with just 1 or 2 spritzes. So I hope that helps. Hope that helps you understand how I take care of my dog's ears and what I've found to be successful and working well, and what I have tried that has actually caused a lot of issues. So let me know if you have any questions.